ไอ้ดอกเว้นดอกเว้นเคยละเอาไว้แค่ดาไม่รอเคยดอกพลาดมอนนายแค่เอาดูตาเกใครเอาดูบ้าขาเลยยูเครนรัสเซียตาเกก่อนเอาไว้ให้ดูเลยเอาไว้แค่ดาก็บูโอลิคิจิตซอลีเนาะบ้านนั้นก็ตซอลซอเนี่ยไว้ชูราคนเนี่ยเอาไว้แคนาดาเปิดก็เต็มนาเต็มนักเก็บไว้ที่มาชูรากีบามอนเนาะตอนเนี่ยไว้ที่ก็มาดูเลยว่า protect ได้มอปาปกติเลยว่าสดาปียมอนเนาะปะตอบพลาดตาดีต่อเลยเขามาก็ล้อมมามอแค่เนี่ยไว้ที่ตอบพลาดตาเนี่ยบ้านนู้นแหละเอาไว้ที่สุวรรณตาสเก็บไว้เลยตะกี้บามอนเนาะเอาไว้ที่สุวรรณตะเก็บไว้เลยตะกี้ไว้ต่อเลยอาจอยเดกลูเดว่าบลาดูเอาไว้ปกติเลยว่าพ่อนี่เดบลูกาลิมอนเนาะเราตัวเลยว่าปูราลอราโคเต็มนาที่เนี่ยเอาไว้แค่เนี่ยไว้ที่จะปาเลย protect เลยบามอไม่ protect ละแกเลยน่าทอดดูดอดาคาลีเลยแค่ดาวคนนี้เอาไว้แค่บักนาดก็เอาไว้มิสเตอร์ทูดูเดอคำนองสิญญากว่าเต็มนาทีเดี๋ยวปัญญาเลยให้คำนองกตูระเลยคำนองปาลิมาวุเลยต้าพวกบุมาแค่เอาไว้ที่ดีเปย์ไว้มั้งเอาไว้ที่ก็มาจากเลยบักนาดก่อนเนาะเอาไว้ยังก็ดูกันนะมิสเตอร์ทูดูเตระไม่อุลาเดอเอาไว้ยังก็พิจารณาเลยเอาไว้ปา protect ได้มั้งเลยเคลมข้อไว้ที่เอาไว้มาไว้ตัดเก็บไว้จากเลยมั้งเนาะจิตนาดับเบิลทริปพัดดูรุ่ยจิตนาว่าที่ให้เนี่ยเฮลอเมริกาโอ้เนาะแต่เลยไปยูเครนนักให้โอเปดอดูละเลิกคนมาแคนดาเวกันนะให้ปะพูดเราได้ปะละให้เปิดสิก็เคลมมือเลยอะไรโดนเนี่ยลุยบอยเดนะไอ้ที่เปียว่าชัวโดนเนี่ยปัญญาเลยตะบักคุบักเอาไว้ที่พันเนี่ยเอาไว้แกเราตาเล็ดตะเกียตาติดตามสิบายอัตราลมุนละพัวโอระคนนี้เอาที่ก็มาเลยก็เจอคนนี้เป็นนัดก่อนไอ้ยเราลำหาเปียลินักเขาดีเนี่ยเอาไว้ตะกี้ปวดเทราตาโอ้คนนี้มั้งเนาะเอาไว้เป็นนัดก็เอาไว้แคนดาก็คนไหนมิสเตอร์ทรูโด
Leadership requires us to do.
เขาได้
For
ยิ
the good of all Canadians,
งเสนอที่เลย
illegal blockades and occupations have to.
Who fought for the liberation of Netherlands.
It is believed that this group was willing to use.
Voorzitter, de heer de Zoer
Oké, Sarah, gaan we.
consideration of a motion for confirmation of the declaration of emergency. Mr. Medicino, seconded by Mr. Trudeau, moves that pursuant to Section 58 of the Emergency Act, this House confirms the declaration of a public order emergency proclaimed on February 14, 2022. Debate the Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Debate
I will be sharing my time with the Minister of Public Safety. On Monday, as we entered the third week of illegal blockades and
Pagnar ko
occupations,
ma ba ye ki klati tagila redola sesebolo tiwa mo atem dalem
we did it to protect families and small businesses, to protect jobs and the economy. We did it because the situation could not be dealt with under any other law in Canada. Mr. Speaker, we did it because that's what responsible leadership requires us to do. For the good of all Canadians, the illegal blockades and occupations have to stop and the borders have to remain open.
Avete call it illegal blockade no.
Since Monday.
The illegal the bablo bada
The
illegal.
border was reopened in southern Alberta after the Coutts blockade was dismantled. The RCMP arrested a small group of people within the larger blockade and seized firearms, ammunition, and body armor. It is believed that this group was willing to use force against police officers.
Lovely.
On Wednesday, the blockade in Emerson, Manitoba, had been cleared without arrests or charges. Traffic and trade at this border crossing have now resumed. In Windsor, Mayor Dilkins said law enforcement was able to successfully intercept a new convoy suspected of heading to the Ambassador Bridge. And here in Ottawa, law enforcement now has more tools and resources in order to give the people of this city their jobs, neighborhoods, and freedoms back. À Windsor, à Coutts et à Emerson, les barrages illégaux ont été levés et la circulation à la frontière a repris ou est en voie de reprendre. Je veux remercier les policiers pour leur travail, incluant les membres de la GRC sur le terrain. Pour le bien de l'économie, des familles et des travailleurs, il est plus que temps que ces activités illégales et dangereuses prennent fin, y compris ici à Ottawa. Monsieur le Président, invoquer la loi sur les mesures d'urgence, ce n'est pas quelque chose qu'on fait à la légère. Ce n'est pas la première option, ni la deuxième, ni même la troisième. C'est une solution de dernier recours. Lorsque j'ai consulté les premiers ministres des provinces et des territoires lundi matin, j'ai été très clair. En bloquant les chaînes d'approvisionnement, les barrages illégaux font des torts considérables à notre économie et aux Canadiens. It is consistent with the requirements of the Emergencies Act that the views of the premiers of all provinces and territories be carefully considered, and that is what we did. And the consultation and collaboration with the premiers will continue until the situation is resolved. Like I said on Monday, the scope of the Emergencies Act is time-limited and targeted, as well as reasonable.
Awa gete piazu de bo da ke awa me thola la ba te me te pian su na pa de le ba mo no. Awa Mr. Trudeau no pa kok pa ken da kok ko te we ni ta ke ra ta we ni common illegal da ba blo ba da ba le pa sa da pia pa top la da blo nyai ni awa te cho we da ta chu ta we ni to le awa ko thodu da wa da awa pa ko te da pha lo du ni awa te ha pe we da clear them na te no awa te pe wa ta la la redo them na te le pa ha ra ha lo me ge mo awa khomo ta le ba khu ba kha da pa nyo te pha ni awa khomo ke ra ta ko da khale we te go mlo le ta ku le ma ka le khomo ka tem na te ta khi to khi lo na ge ne khomo ba do wa da pa phi da ma ra pho awa te ya ne khu ni awa te ai no awa pa ko kho Mr. Trudeau awa pa phla ra we mo awa ba mnu ko le awa te ko illegal aid awa illegal awa movement mo awa be metel ko lo te yi yo ni awa khomo te me ba blo ba da pa hu pa ge we ata te ke pa ke wa da khomo tolerance mo awa khomo be ke te le pa ta te ke pa le de ge ba di to e do ma pu ro lo ro ra ja ni e do te phu te ya ni mo no ba ke se ke na do
and proportionate. It strengthens and supports law enforcement agencies so they have more tools to restore order and protect critical infrastructure. These illegal blockades are being heavily supported by individuals in the United States and from elsewhere around the world. We see that roughly half of the funding that is flowing to the barricaders here is coming from the United States. The goal of all measures, including financial measures in the Emergencies Act, is to deal with the current threat only and to get the situation fully under control. Mr. Speaker, I want to reassure Canadians that when the Emergencies Act is invoked, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms continues to protect their individual rights. We're not using the Emergencies Act to call in the military. We're not limiting people's freedom of expression. We're not limiting freedom of peaceful assembly. We're not preventing people from exercising their right to protest legally. We are, in fact,
awa redo do a pepe ni te tipo le kenda na wa agba bwa sewe tagi ko cha le mono awa papa kenda phone no kenda ko ne wa odo simusi bo le le pwe lo basana ki ne dai ke ra ta we ne te me le to tu le bo ba awa te ka ba ko wa da kono simusi bo le emergency di ba mo awa te ka ba ma le ta sura so da we ka kai ne ado peli pe ko ma awa ti we me te ne awa te ka su da su mo cái suy ra suy lơ bực đây là mấy Canada suy này yên nào à vậy ta cũng bao nhiêu cái đọt đu nhà na giờ là khop loài mà lô ba lơ còn mà bà Canada là cái suy về là cái khô lắm cái chief mình à vậy ý sĩ quan sĩ đó đó ye lơ và bác có bác cái sinh nhà này ta cái nhau gì mà à thế này là nhà à tao muốn này cái vậy ra phải immigrant lắm mà vậy hôm nay Mr. Trudeau này vậy bà phá ra vậy đã khai lơ bà phá ra ta tập lo nhảy này à vậy chỗ vậy ta sẽ cái bùa đi sau lơ không nhau suy vậy ta chịu ta vậy suy vậy cho suy vậy thì phải này à vậy này mình ta lơ bữa cái là ta sẽ cái bùa là được ghi được vào mà nó à hôm nay vậy thì mà vậy ra cái ta đi sau lơ cái này vậy suy vậy ra à vậy police force đi lo à vậy bữa có à ta đó là đỡ đi lo à vậy suy vậy suy đi ba ở đó thế này mà cái nào đó nó
Enforcing the principles, values, and institutions that keep all Canadians free. The blockades and occupations are illegal. They're a threat to our economy and relationship with trading partners. They're a threat to supply chains and the availability of essential goods like food and medicine. They're a threat to public safety. La loi sur les mesures d'urgence
ai redo mama whatever ta huta gar khai ni awara di mapli mapwara awa ta kula maka economy blo ne awa shumera ma ba khu ta khoda ya blo ne pa ordinary pa muchin mu ta khoda ya ane ne khomala awa ko de bi de be khomya atibo ko po ta khoda ya mo no I guess is a right mo awe mamba do wer karibane mamba do se ko hoko do pla khomya atamuta khumo awe do edo te yan bagana ro da ka te wele pressimo
va être limité dans le temps et ciblé pour répondre aux menaces des occupations et
nang na meti no ba but awe sagabya ge le khomya awe ko lo ala ta la khiwo no nang na meti no ye ge na pressed ba ye ge na le ko lo wala mo
les barrages illégaux seulement. Les mesures sont raisonnables et proportionnelles. Et je veux que ce soit bien clair pour les Canadiens, Monsieur le Président, quand la loi sur les mesures d'urgence est invoquée, la Charte canadienne des droits et libertés continue de protéger les droits individuels. On ne se sert pas de la loi des mesures d'urgence pour déployer l'armée. On ne suspend pas les droits fondamentaux. On ne limite pas la liberté d'expression ni le droit de manifester pacifiquement. Ce qu'on veut, c'est d'assurer la sécurité des Canadiens, protéger les emplois des travailleurs et rétablir la confiance dans nos institutions. It's never time to hurt our communities or our fellow Canadians with illegal blockades, but especially not now that we're reopening and beginning to get back to the things we love. That's why, Mr. Speaker, it is so important for us to be having this debate today and in the days to come, and for Parliament to play its role in this process. Today, I ask all members of this House to take action against illegal blockades that are harmful to Canadians. I ask all members of this House to stand up for families and workers, to stand up for jobs and our economy, and to stand up for the freedom of Canadians and for public safety. Merci, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question et commentaires, questions and comments, and we'll try our best to get all parties represented during this time. The Honourable Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister, the Minister of Public Safety, and the Minister for Emergency Preparedness have repeatedly stated that there is evidence of foreign extremist financing behind this convoy. Last week at Public Safety Committee, Deputy Director of Intelligence for FinTrack, Barry McKillop, stated that there is no evidence that this funding in Ottawa is tied to ideologically motivated extremism. Under further questioning, he stated that there has been no spike in suspicious transactions. Under what basis is this government freezing the bank accounts of Canadians in violation of Section 8 of the Charter against unreasonable search and seizure?
Le très honorable Premier ministre.
Mr. Speaker, I think
ayawe patikwa wara Mr. Trudeau no akewe awe ne panyalo Ukraine awe akuna regala mo nage awe te tabatwa de awe pakbati nyale awe melekenda bo mo no awe ra party lupu me ya party lupu ne awe yime kode yo kora bya tu party ne awe liberal party me ya green party blood ne awe conservative party blood ne apwelie pweli awe lupu ne awe pakitiala awe the order awe akrula awe akipwa awe apamara po di tole kedudura le ba kenda mo khone awe sikwa we mo awe sikwa bam nu khole komone takera da blonya akewera ulo akewe komo demonstrate la mo no awe ta pa phara da le komo abadi de pa ne awe bam nu khole Mr. Trudeau ne awe de pa flower ba de pa lu pa pu we le no aphu to no awe te ya ni awe na ni mitela mga awe te pya wa ni misele ba gyo klo ne awe thora me ya awe te we mga these o de tikiti ma tho pya we ni awe na ga de ba na le Mr. Trudeau ke sise wa
it is going to be extremely important that in this House over the coming days there will be important and robust debate on many such issues. But I can highlight once again, Mr. Speaker, that the Charter...
bam no le awe se ya de le Putin wa awe thi awe mgo ne Ukraine akona ga lo ole kenda bu lo mo awe ge sara thi kwa ra bya ne awe di ta se ya de mgo ne bam nu hol yimeta de le pu mo bam nu hol ta ge kera da le khamya emergency e nya li mo ba to phla do ta ge ta klo le redo ne bam nu hol Mr. Trudeau ne di himunda le Mr. Trudeau tem ga le awe he wa ta ge do ne ka ba thimi thmo ma ta to mo te ya
of rights and freedoms continues to apply. The Emergencies Act is subject to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and the measures that we've brought forward are proportional, measured, and responsible, and designed to get Canadians their lives back, their communities back, and restore their freedoms.
Question et commentaire, l'honorable député de Belleuil-Chambly.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker.
Je pense que à peu près tout le monde est d'accord sur l'intention qui est de mettre
Prase ko
Namely to
leader of the bloc Quebec one ya le Quebec one Prase ko le Quebec
still active
Si
here.
l'intention
If the intent
est correcte,
is
le moyen utilisé pourrait très bien ne pas l'être.
the means
Si en
to
effet
achieve
le
the end
Québec
is
a
not.
disposé des manifestations à Québec sans la loi sur les mesures d'urgence.
Gut-wrenching to see the sense of abandonment and helpless.
Show you that these protests have not been peaceful or lawful. My question to the Prime Minister is how is this Emergencies Act is going to help my constituents in Ottawa Centre?
The Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians continue to have the right to free expression, the right to protest peacefully, but occupying the downtown of our major cities, protesting and blocking border crossings is unacceptable. That is why we have given more tools in a proportional way to police officers.
Reprise du débat, continuing debate, the Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to begin by thanking the Prime Minister for commencing this important debate on the invitation.
ta kha de me red abatot a redo di ba a tem ga repi we mun ga ta dun la dia
Expressions of gratitude both to my colleagues on this side of this House. I'd also like to begin by expressing my gratitude to the opposition for the informed debate which we're about to have. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank Canadians because I know that this has been a very difficult time, a period of great frustration and anxiety. and uncertainty, and it is not lost on me, and I hope not on all members of the chamber, that the confluence of events of the pandemic and now these illegal blockades does create for an emotionally charged atmosphere. And sometimes we let that get the better of us here in this chamber, but my sincere hope is that we'll be able to have a principled debate about why it is the government has chosen to invoke the Emergencies Act, the paramount reason being the health and safety of all Canadians. Now, you've heard the Prime Minister set out what the test for the invocation of the Emergencies Act is, and I know that my colleague, the Minister of Justice and the Attorney General and other members will elaborate on that, but I want to focus my comments on what I believe are the perceived and real risks to public safety that we have seen over the last number of weeks, which emanated from the so-called Freedom Convoy. Now, this convoy has been taking to the streets right across the country and at other critical infrastructure, including our borders, our national symbols. Approximately $48 million per day in Emerson, $73 million a day, and in Windsor, where we conduct nearly or roughly a quarter of all of our daily trade with our most important trading partner in the United States, roughly $390 million. Now, those are just numeric figures, but I think about the translation of those dollar figures into the impact on Canadians' jobs, on families, on those who are just trying to get by right now. And whatever the motivation of some individuals who have commingled with those organizers and agitators of this illegal blockade, whatever their concerns are with regards to the government's strategy to get out of the pandemic, which of course is to get vaccinated, it has become something much, much more concerning. Now, Mr. Speaker, I do want to say that we have made some progress at these ports of entry, and that is in large part thanks to the very important work that has been undertaken by the members of our law enforcement. Je veux remercier les efforts des énergies de la GRC, même toutes les forces policières qui font le bon travail sur le terrain. Il y a beaucoup de progrès. Maintenant, la majorité de les frontières sont ouvertes. C'est bon pour l'économie, c'est bon pour le commerce. C'est bon.
Ok, donc Commune Mr. Trudeau Terra Willimo. Our party like keep a Mr. Trudeau at Tamak, Bao or Kilo Tapitama. Our Basanage Pemga Terra Lucky Turn in our get or the Sepia Dimo. Our theatre Terran Common Talata Kerala Blonya, our usual more, our the new Kerata, Bloodine, our Bugutella. Takirata when a metal offer more, tell often law. Taba mono, tale often lo taba Bagadella Canada our Takwataya Kenda Tadula Thoni our Notot Plata Lota Mutaku our Nila the Banamiba but a glue by the guy our Neletop Plata Nila night miller violence mamo ta come out that told you told die Bugadala Tama Matho, Tama Tima Chatama Prima Pu, and a violence over the cover. Our care of the lab taught to Yamo. A honey, I will take a bar, our Mr. Trudeau, I will take a bar mawe, a bar mawe to le, come your, that top plaza, come your to me, Bablo Badabar Kaine. I will go back with them or two with them. More where come out to learn to do it. You know, W. Your choice got there,